evening. I'm Keisha Butts with a CTV News update. U.S. defense officials testify on the controversial withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan. Top military leaders were called before a Senate committee this morning. Troop withdrawal began on May 1st and formally concluded on August 31st, but it was marred by a suicide bombing that killed 13 U.S. service members and dozens of Afghans. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Mark Milley discussed the order of events that led to the chaotic pullout.
Failed to grasp that there was only so much for which and for whom many of the Afghan forces would fight. We provided the Afghan military with equipment and aircraft and the skills to use them. Over the years, they often fought bravely. Tens of thousands of Afghan soldiers and police died. But in the end, we couldn't provide them with the will to win, at least not all of them. And as a veteran of that war, I am personally reckoning with all of that.
The war in Afghanistan did not end on the terms we wanted, with the Taliban now in power in Kabul. Although the NEO was unprecedented and is the largest air evacuation in history, evacuating 124,000 people, it came at an incredible cost of 11 Marines, 1 soldier, and a Navy corpsman.
The hearing was held before the Senate Armed Services Committee. A judge announces a lengthy sentence for the gunman who murdered 5 people at the Capital Gazette newspaper. 220 years. That's how long Jared Ramos will serve in prison without the possibility of parole. During a 12-day trial, a jury found Ramos criminally responsible for the mass shooting. The Capital Gazette shooting occurred in 2018. Pfizer says it will soon request emergency use of its COVID-19 vaccine for children ages 5 to 11. The company today submitted trial data to the FDA saying the vaccine is safe for young kids. Meantime, a Maryland doctor says, like all vaccines, Pfizer's is going through a long review process. Dr. James Campbell says the University of Maryland School of Medicine has been evaluating the effectiveness of COVID-19 vaccines for children.
I think it's important for all parents to take this seriously, to realize that COVID often is milder in children than in adults, but it's really hard to predict if your child or my child is going to be the one who happens to get the serious version of it. I work in a children's hospital and we see the really serious versions of it. It's the #1 infectious cause of death among children over the last year. I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Currently, only kids 12 and older are eligible to get vaccinated from COVID-19. The Prince George's school system reports 3 new COVID-19 cases. The latest reported last night are at Cora Rice, Longfields, and Ridgecrest elementary schools. Last week, CTV News reported that there had been more than 200 COVID-19 cases in the district since the beginning of the school year on September 8th. Here are the latest COVID-19 numbers for our area. Of the 972 new confirmed cases by the State Health Department, 127 are in Prince George's County. The county's positivity rate is at 4.37%. 17 people have died of COVID-19 since yesterday. 785 people remain hospitalized. You're watching CTV News. I'm Keisha Butts. Coming up, Maryland examines its racial history with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We'll explain why after the break. Stay with us.
Focus on what you can control, like wearing a mask, frequent hand washing, and social distancing. For more tips, visit coping-19.org.
Thank you for staying with us. The State Commission tasked with examining the history of racial terror across Maryland is set to hold its first public hearing. It's scheduled for this Saturday in Allegheny County, Maryland. The Maryland Truth and Reconciliation Commission was established by legislation in 2019 and signed into law by Governor Larry Hogan. The panel will spend a year holding discussions around the state where incidents of racial terror took place. Cumberland is where 22-year-old William Burns was lynched by a mob in October 1907 when he was suspected of killing a police officer. Commission members expect a mixed reaction at the sessions.
We know there are some people that don't want to hear the story. There are some that reject the story. we welcome that, quite honestly, because we are steadfast and committed to the truth. That's the first part of this commission, is truth. And although reconciliation is in our name, that's not our focus. Our focus is healing. Ultimately, first and foremost, healing for the descendants of racial terror lynching victims, the descendants of community members who suffered racial terrorism, even if they weren't quote unquote lynched, but suffered under racial terrorism in all of these different regions of the state, and to do our best as a state body to catalyze justice.
Due to COVID-19, the first session will be held virtually. To get the link, email the commission at mltrc@maryland.gov. Police are searching for a man accused of fatally shooting his girlfriend. An arrest warrant has been issued for 25-year-old James Kirkland of Clinton. Officers responded to the 10900 block of Hackberry Court on September 24th at 11:35 p.m. When they arrived, they found 24-year-old Moyona Tillman of Clinton suffering from gunshot wounds. She was later pronounced dead. Anyone with information on Kirkland's whereabouts is asked to call 1-866-411-TIPS. Six Flags America makes some policy changes for its guests. The park will now close at 9 p.m. for the rest of the season. Guests will not be able to enter the facility after 7 in the evening. The new changes were made after several fights broke out at the amusement park over the weekend. Prince George's police are looking to identify the people involved in the fight, as well as the victims who had their cars vandalized. A month into the school year, the Prince George's school system is changing how it compensates its bus drivers. NBC4 reports that PGCTV sent an email to drivers announcing temporary changes in compensation. Drivers who are paid hourly say the benefits weren't kicking in when they picked up extra hours. They complained that the school system needs a consistent payment method when drivers double routes that aren't part of their daily assignment. The school system, meantime, is still short 200 bus drivers. Another bus driver job fair will take place tomorrow. For more information, visit the school system's website. And still ahead, the Black and Missing Foundation. We sat down with CEO Derrica Wilson. Stay with us.
The fight goes on, because just when you think this opponent seems to be pinned down, it comes back to life. So keep your guard up, because if your mask comes off, the fight is lost for all.
Thank you for staying with us. Did you know more than 540,000 people were reported missing last year? That's according to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Of that number, nearly 40% of missing persons are people of color. I recently sat down with CEO of the Black and Missing Foundation to discuss how she's bringing awareness to these cases. What is the Black and Missing Foundation? What do you do specifically?
The Black and Missing Foundation is an organization to bring awareness to missing persons of color, children, men, women across this country.
I understand there's a tip line, there's a missing persons form. Can you tell us more about that?
Absolutely. We've created a platform to allow families to bring awareness to their loved ones. So once they go onto our website, they can complete our intake form. We work hand in hand with law enforcement to make sure that these cases are in fact verified and reported, and then we put it on our website. So when someone sees this missing persons flyer, they can actually go on our website and submit an anonymous tip. We know in the minority community there's this lack of trust when it comes to minorities and law enforcement. So we don't care who they are. We just want the information to end the nightmare for these families.
As you said, there is a lack of trust. Tell me, why do you think that there is a lack of trust?
Well, I mean, I served as a law enforcement official, and again, there's this mistrust in the community. You know, oftentimes Black people are, we're stereotyped as criminal behavior, and when it comes to missing persons, our children, they're classified as runaways. When adults go missing, their disappearance is associated with some sort of criminal activity. So it really desensitizes the fact that they're missing, and it also dehumanizes the situation.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that also plays out in the media as well. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we see what's happening right now with Gabby Petito's case, and our hearts go out to the Petito family, but we can roll off the names of Natalie Holloway, Chandra Levy, Lacey Peterson, Kaylee Anthony, Elizabeth Smart, Gabby Petito, but not one person can roll off the name of a black or brown person that have elevated up to mainstream media, not one across this country.
What do you think that we can do about that?
We need more diversity in the newsroom. The decision makers oftentimes don't look like us. And unfortunately, our stories are just not being told.
Let's talk about some of the missing people here in Prince George's County. I understand there's Terrence Woods Jr. and Christian Muse. Can you tell me more about them?
We do have some cold cases out of Prince George's County. Christian Muse, he's been missing for a number of years, as well as Terrence Woods Jr. Terrence Woods Jr., he's actually missing in another state. He was on a filming project when he actually went missing. And in both cases, it's like there's just really no sense of urgency in finding these missing individuals. I mean, they're just a small fraction of the totality of what's happening here and abroad.
Tell me about some of the other people who are missing in the DMV area.
So we have missing persons, Relisha Rudd, she's missing out of DC. We have Keisha Jacobs, she's missing out of Virginia. We have Akia Eggleston, she's missing out of Baltimore. So there's a lot, and those are just a few that are missing from this area. There's just so many more. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring awareness to their disappearance as well. You know, less is more. Less of one particular race and more of everyone else that's missing, greater the chances of a reunion.
And we'll have more with Wilson tomorrow. In other news, Prince George's police have charged a suspect in connection with Sunday's police-involved shooting in Temple Hills. He is 19-year-old Nashad Barksdale of Washington, D.C. Investigators say Barksdale was one of two men who were attempting an armed carjacking at the 3100 block of Branch Avenue just after 11 o'clock on Sunday night. Police say as the suspects fled the scene, Barksdale pulled out a handgun, prompting an officer to open fire. Barksdale was shot in the leg and taken into custody. The second person got away. Meantime, police have identified one of the men charged in connection with a shooting incident at the Branch Avenue Metro Station on Sunday. He's 18-year-old Naim Blair of Clinton. He faces attempted murder and gun possession charges. Investigators say 3 people were injured during an exchange of gunfire following a fight that broke out in a parking lot among 4 people who got off the Metro train together. 4 guns were recovered at the scene. NBA training camp is underway for the Washington Wizards. The team will have a new look in the 2021 after trading Russell Westbrook to the Los Angeles Lakers. Star guard Bradley Beal says he'll miss Westbrook, but that Wizards gained several good players in return. Meantime, speaking at Media Day yesterday, Beal made headlines when he announced he wasn't vaccinated. The star guard missed the Olympics in Japan because he was under COVID-19 protocols.
Yeah, you can't necessarily force anybody or, kind of, say it's time for a vaccine. I think you kind of let people come into their own about it. They do their research when they feel comfortable. They do it. I definitely think about it for sure. With the guidelines that the league makes and everything that the protocols are doing, they kind of make it difficult on us to where they kind of force us in a way to want to get it. But, at the end of the day, I talk it over with my family and we make a decision that we think is best for us.
The Wizards open the preseason against the Houston Rockets on October 5th. Let's get a quick check on our 3-day weather forecast tonight. Cloudy with a low around 55. Wednesday and Thursday, sunny with daytime temps near 73 degrees. Friday, sunny with a high near 70. And now for the community calendar. Continue to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month with the Prince George's County Memorial Library System. The Largo branch will be hosting a marimba music concert. The event is tomorrow evening from 6:30 until 7:30 p.m. For more information, visit pgcmls.info. And that wraps up our CTV News update. I'm Keisha Butts. Have a good night.